Hey everyone, this is Hannah with today's Rocket Miner COVID-19 update. Today in Wyoming we have 596 confirmed cases of the virus, 191 probable cases, and 528 recovered cases. Unfortunately today in Wyoming we had another COVID-19 related death reported, which brings Wyoming's total death count up to 11 deaths now. Today the Wyoming Department of Health reported that another Fremont County resident who was previously identified as a laboratory confirmed COVID-19 case has died. They said that the newly confirmed death involves a hospitalized adult man who had an existing health condition that put him at higher risk of serious illness related to the virus. Again, as with every COVID-19 related death that we've seen, it's just a reminder that this virus is a serious threat, and we are so privileged in Wyoming that we have had comparatively few deaths, but obviously every death is a tragedy, and it reminds us of how serious this virus can be, which reminds us of why we are taking such what have felt at times like drastic measures to prevent the spread of the virus. It's all because we want to protect people and we want to avoid situations like this. So, as always, our love and our hearts and thoughts and prayers and everything, condolences from the Rocket Miner go out to the family and to everyone who has been affected and is dealing with this loss and this grief. Today, the Sweetwater County COVID-19 Emergency Operations Center announced their plans to demobilize to a standby status. They said this decision was made because they said the local spread of the novel coronavirus no longer appears an immediate threat to the county's healthcare system, and the state continues to loosen restrictions on everyday life. So as things are easing up, they made the decision to demobilize and be on a standby status for right now. The Emergency Operations Center, or the EOC, was activated in mid-March, and they have been working together as this task force to manage our county's response to the public health emergency of COVID-19. They've been kind of the headquarters for a lot of different agencies and entities that are here locally, including county health, the hospital, emergency first responders, and local elected and government officials. Brought together a lot of these different groups and organizations and people into this task force to work together on the county's response to the virus, to help spread information and figure out logistical issues and just work together for our county. In their 3 months of operation, the EOC procured and distributed a total of 3,450 N95 masks, 220 3D printed reusable N95 masks, 5,280 surgical masks, 185 face shields, 2,500 isolation gowns, and approximately 250 gallons of hand sanitizer to over 20 different entities across the county, including local nursing homes, the hospital, home health agencies, and emergency first responders. This has been an awesome part of what the EOC has been doing this whole time, is getting the supplies and resources that our local hospitals and everything else, these other organizations and groups, getting them the supplies that they need to be able to respond to this virus and help people through it. And the EOC has been such a big part of making sure those supplies get to the people here locally who need them. The EOC's organizational structure is going to remain in place in the event that there's a need to resume active emergency operations. And Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County is also going to continue to operate their COVID-19 Preparedness Incident Command Team. So those groups and organizations will still be there, they're just taking a step back and not going to be as actively involved as they have been. Today, Governor Mark Gordon gave a press conference along with State Health Officer Dr. Alexia Harris, as well as Wyoming Business Council CEO Josh Dorrell and Executive Director for the Wyoming Community Development Authority, Scott Hoversland. The main idea of the press conference was to, again, kind of give an update on where Wyoming's at with COVID-19, how things have been going as we've started reopening again, and also to talk about the Wyoming legislature's special session that they just did and the bills that they were able to pass during that session. Governor Gordon noted that we have had an increase in cases recently, especially since last week, which is when we did have the change in public health orders that started to reopen things and loosen restrictions. So they've been watching the data, and the case numbers have been going up since then. He said there were 13 new lab-confirmed cases reported today, and unfortunately the additional death reported today as well. And he said there were 73 new confirmed cases within the past week. In Wyoming as a whole right now, we have 9 hospitalizations that we know of. But the governor said that even though some of those numbers have been going up, a lot of the numbers are still doing pretty well. He said that our test rate is doing really well, and this is a percentage that they get when they look at how many of the tests are taken and how many come back positive versus how many are negative. He said that Wyoming is doing really good on that, and our percentage is actually going down. We decreased from 3.9% to 3.7%, so we're improving in that, and we're doing a lot better than a lot of other places. The national average is around 13%, so for us to be down at 3%, Wyoming is doing really well, and they're continuing to look at those numbers and look at the data and how things are changing as we continue to move forward and make decisions. He said that Wyoming is remaining stable in some of the metrics that they were looking at, where he had put up a chart that had some different categories, like whether the hospitals were prepared with everything they needed with the new case numbers. Similar considerations like that in these different categories were either like stable or improving or a concern. He said that we are stable in 5 out of 6 of those metrics. The only one that is listed as concerning right now is with the new cases, since that number is still rising. But overall, a lot of the numbers are doing really well, and Wyoming is still improving and moving forward. Both Governor Gordon and Dr. Harris during the press conference really stressed the importance of continuing to be careful, to take the precautions that we've been told to take this whole time of social distancing, trying to stay 6 feet away from people, and washing our hands and all of those things that we've been hearing. We need to not just get lazy, not just forget about those things or let them slide, but to keep doing that. And they both talked about the importance of wearing face masks and coverings and how they are recommending that for people, how it's an important thing that they think everyone should be doing. Governor Gordon said that wearing a mask is not intended to be something that is a burden, but it is a sign of respect for other people, and it's a way to help each other feel comfortable, and especially to help people who are more concerned about the virus and more concerned about things reopening and whether or not that's safe. It will help them feel more safe and comfortable and help all of us continue to reopen and to move forward together if more people are wearing face coverings. And Dr. Harris said that wearing masks is important to help protect the people who are more vulnerable, that we want to protect from this virus because it could have a worse effect on them. And it also just has that helping prevent people spreading the virus when they're not even aware that they have the virus. So they both really stressed the importance of wearing face masks and coverings, especially in public places and in places where it's harder to maintain the 6-foot distance from other people. During the press conference, Dr. Harris also discussed how we're still having to be very careful, especially with people who live at long-term care facilities, and how we as a state are still working on helping them and helping prevent outbreaks in long-term care facilities where they could be so much more catastrophic, and where there are people who are so much more at risk from the virus. So she described some of the steps they're taking. They're starting a proactive testing program that will specifically focus on long-term care facilities. And so she described some of the guidelines and things that they want to do for places that don't have any reported cases of the virus, but they want to keep doing testing to make sure there isn't an outbreak, and then places where there have been an outbreak of the virus so that they can get that under control and continue to help the people there and help keep it from spreading. During the press conference, Governor also discussed the 3 bills that were passed by the legislature in their special session, and most of those dealt with financial things, with spending CARES Act funds, or helping grants for businesses, or unemployment money and how that gets divided and who's eligible for it, and eviction prevention programs and similar things like that. So Josh Dorrell, the CEO of the Wyoming Business Council, spoke and gave more information about the plans going forward to give funds and to help out businesses throughout Wyoming, and the plans and programs that they have for small businesses and different businesses of different sizes, and what they'll be able to do to apply for grants and to get these funds that will hopefully be able to get to them soon so that we can help our economy keep going and get back on its feet. And Scott Hubberslin, the Executive Director of Wyoming Community Development Authority, spoke about the programs that are being put into effect to help prevent evictions and to provide housing and mortgage payment and rental assistance to people who are struggling because of COVID-19 and the effects that it's had on them. So definitely would encourage you to go watch the full press conference. It's always up on the Wyoming PBS pages, and then we share it on our page as well, so you can go see it there. And then you can hear just more of the details about those bills and what they entail and these different programs and how they're going to work. The governor said at the end of the press conference that the threat of COVID-19 hasn't gone, but with common sense precautions, we can continue to make progress. And our journey back won't always be simple or easy, but here in Wyoming, we aren't afraid of work, and we aren't afraid of doing things the hard way. And people in Wyoming know the value of community and responsibility and hard work and faith. And I was just encouraged by that and by his words and his optimistic outlook, and how he has always believed in the people of Wyoming to keep moving forward and keep working together to get over this together. So I would just encourage you with the same thing, that even though this virus isn't gone and there are still threats and there are still things we need to be cautious about, we can know that we're working on it together and we're moving forward together. And here in Wyoming we have so many privileges, and it's just great what we've been able to do so far. Great that we are in such a good place where we are moving forward and improving, and that's how we'll keep doing it, is just by working together and moving forward together. So thank you for listening. Keep checking back with us for more updates. Have a good night.